All right, welcome back. The next thing that we're going to control in our room is we're going to control the displays themselves. We need to turn them on and off. We also need to be able to bring in that wireless HDMI that we were talking about for the presentation. Those are all going to be done with third-party controls, and third-party controls are not Q-SYS controls, surprisingly enough. We need to be able to control things that are not within Q-SYS inherently. There are a number of ways that you can get things to control third-party devices and places that you can go for them. The main two ways that we're going to be looking at are using user components and using plugins. So user components, you're probably familiar with. You can make user components out of anything in Q-SYS. You can grab an audio player and a gain and throw them together and put them in a user component. It's just a way of saving a couple of bits of components and wiring together that you can bring in whenever you want to. Lots and lots of reasons to use user components to make your life easier. But some people will make user components to control third-party devices. So maybe you've written a little script that works really well with this particular projector or something like that, and you save it as a user component, and then you give it to all your friends and everyone that you work with. It's the best white elephant gift ever, just to give out little user components. User components are great because you'll find you can get access to a lot of third-party devices that you might not otherwise be able to find controls for. And they're really easy to make. You just take them and copy them. The downsides of user components are that there's not really any like official troubleshooting path for you. We don't support user components because we didn't make them. They're made by just someone else out there in the world. And also, there's no version control on user components. So if the manufacturer makes an updated version of their device and this user component was designed for a previous version of the device, then there's no real way of knowing that this user component might not be operational anymore. So the preferred method is by using plugins. Plugins are great. For all the reasons that I just mentioned, the downsides of user components are plugins fix that. Plugins are things that are built with the Q-SYS team in collaboration. We maybe work with the manufacturer, or we work with to develop it, and we verify it with them with our partner programs. They are vetted, and they are tested, and they are supported. So that if there's a problem with it, then you can ask us and we'll help you out. Also, we keep the version controls in check so that when a new version of the plugin comes out, then it'll tell you in Q-SYS, hey, you got a new version, update that plugin, and you can download that as well. So whether you're using user components or plugins, I prefer searching for plugins first if you can find them. If you can't find what you need through the plugin, then look through the user component. Okay, so we'll start by going to the community's website, which is available at developers.qsc.com. We're going to log in. You've already got a login for this because you have a login for the training website, and it's the same login. So go ahead and put your credentials. I'm going to make you do this. We're going to download something from developers in real time. I could have just given this to you as a thing that you could download in the class assets, like we gave you the CSS file, but I'm not going to do that. I'm going to make you do this. You got to do this. Open up that web browser. Come do this. Log in. Okay, the thing that we're going to look for, we're looking for an emulator that controls the display. And the displays in our room, if we go and take a look at our design, are in this section up here. Oh, no, they're down here. We have our displays under video devices. Let's double click on the displays information box we gave you. These are Kalarchik TVs. Kalarchik TVs. Have you ever bought a Kalarchik TV before? You have? You're a liar. They don't exist. It's not a real brand. Kalarchik TVs are named after one of our favorite application engineers here, Scott Kalarchik. And so he has been immortalized in the names of our TV emulator for this and many classes that we've done. So go and search for Kalarchik. That's Kalarchik. And whenever you're searching for a user component here, that's what you'll do. Aha, look at that. I've got a Kalarchik TV control available on developers.communities.com. So let's click on this. And here we'll see a little bit of information about the author, where it came from. You'll see some preview images for it. We're going to click on View on Repo. And that will take us to our Bitbucket storage where you can download it. Down at the bottom, there's an option where you can download. So I'm going to go to Downloads, and here's our download repository. Click on that, and mine is downloading already. So I'm going to open the location where it came from. This happens to have come in a zip file. I'll open it up, And then I'm just going to go down to the next folder. There it is. You'll find it if it's named as a .QUC. QUC stands for Q-SYS User Components. When you find that, all you have to do is double click it. That's it. When you double click it, it'll say, do you want to install it? And you say yes. And actually, when you double click it like that, there's no like install app that comes up and does anything. All it's doing is it's copying it into a folder in your documents folder. That's literally all it means to install it. In fact, you can see that if you go to your documents folder. You could go to QSC, Q-SYS Designer, and User Components. There it is, Kalarchik TV Control. So this folder here, you can copy and paste things in here. You can make this a shared folder. Very, very useful. And you'll see the window to all your user components in your designer. Scroll down to the bottom. Here in my user components, very bottom corner for me, there it is, Kalarchik TV Control. That is our user components that we just added a second ago. Let's add those to the displays section. There's two displays, right? A left display and a right display. So I'm going to add them in twice. One for left display, one for the right display. We want to make sure that it works. If we open up our displays information, we have a little bit of information about these particular displays. The left display has an IP address of 127.0.0.1 on port 5101, and the right display is at IP address 127.0.0.1 on port 5102. Well, that's strange, you might say to yourself, being correct. In the real world, you would never have any devices that have the exact same IP address. The whole point of an IP address is that it's unique to the device, right? Keep in mind, we're doing the emulator, right? So if you know anything about IP addresses, you know that this address, 127.0.0.1, that is a loopback IP address. It basically says, hey, whatever you're sending out from, turn around, make a UE, come on back, and look at the device that sent this. It's asking Q-SYS to look at your own laptop. And that is the emulator that we've got running. So let's configure it. We'll hop into emulation mode really quickly. We'll double-click on those control components. Here's our left control. Here's our right control. It needs this information to be input properly. So the left display IP address is 127.0.0.1 with the port of 5101. If you press enter, you should get an OK status to let you know that this is connecting to our emulator properly. Second one is also 127.0.0.1. Its port happens to be, nudge that to the side, 5102. And that socket is connected as well. Let's double check that it works. I'm going to open up my UCI that has the emulator over here. I'll split the screen, turn on the lights. If I turn on the left display, voila, I've got the left display on. And I even see the laptop because look, I still have an HDMI connected. If I disconnect that HDMI, then we'll get our hey, nothing's connected screen. Perfect. If I turn on the right display, same thing. I've got a right display that is active, and that's the behavior that we want. We can turn them both off. Perfect. So Q-SYS is properly controlling the displays in the room. We haven't made it automated or anything yet, but we do have control. So make sure that yours is working, test those buttons on and off, and that's what we want. And then we'll go and we'll connect our other third-party device here, which is a plugin. So that's HDMI wireless connection we talked about. That is going to be taking place via Immersive Solstice Pod, and you can find that as a plugin. We'll go to our plugin Asset Manager. You can get there either by pressing the Asset Manager little puzzle icon at the top here. You can go to Tools, Show Asset Manager, or if you are in design mode, there's also an access point for it right over here. There's a little puzzle icon in your plugins directory. However you want to get to it, you'll open up the Asset Manager. It'll load up. And it'll populate with all the plugins that we've got. When the Asset Manager first started, there was like 12 plugins in there, and that was great. But now we've got so many more. And by the time you're watching this, there's probably even more. We got teams of people that are always just adding more plugins. So we're going to actually search for the right plugin because I don't want to scroll through a long list to find them. I'm going to type in the word immersive into my search field. Immersive, M-E-R-S-I-V-E. There it is, Immersive Solstice Pod. Once it's installed, then it will show up in your plugins list over here And I can now close my Asset Manager. And if I scroll down, Asset Manager, this happens to be an Enterprise Manager supported one, so I'm going to find it right here under Immersive, Solstice Pod version 2.0. Let's drag that. This is one of our sources, so I'm going to drag it right in here as one of our video sources. And there's not much for us to configure in that at the moment. We just want to make sure that it exists and that you saw how to add that plugin. We will later be using the pod IP and the session key from this particular device so that our users can connect properly to that wireless by putting this information on the touch panel for them to access. But that's all we need to do for now. We've gotten our plugins and our user components. In the next section, we will automate and make some more block controller magic happen, all right? Take a quick break. We'll be right back.